Hello, Unity of Chattanooga. It's Justin Epstein from New York City. Thank you for having me as your guest minister today. I'm excited about that. I hope you will enjoy the guided meditation and today's message on Seek First to Understand. That message and what I'm going to be talking about has really made such a difference in my own life, and I hope that something in it touches you and helps you with your life and your own transformation as well. So thanks again for having me, and let's get going.
Good morning, it's a beautiful day. Good morning, I can make it that way. To have a good morning, all I have to say is it's a good morning when I see it that way. I woke up to cloudy skies, didn't even want to open my eyes. I pulled the covers way up and over my head. I took a breath and realized I'm so lucky to be alive. And with a smile I popped right up and said, good morning, it's a beautiful day. Good morning, I can make it that way. To have a good morning, all I have to say is it's a good morning when I see it that way. When I wake up feeling good and everything goes just as it should, it's not hard to call it a wonderful day. But even when I'm feeling down, I can easily turn it around. I just have to stop myself and say, oh, good morning, it's a beautiful day. Good morning, I can make it that way. To have a good morning, all I have to say is it's a good morning when I see it that way. It's a good morning when I create it that way. Good morning, folks. It's so great to be here with you. Unity of Chattanooga. Once again, I think I visited you a few months ago in August, I believe. My name is B.A. Huffman. I'm joining you from my home in Palm Springs, California this time. And I'm thrilled to be here with Justin Epstein giving the talk today on this beautiful Sunday morning. So let's get on with the service, and I'll see you in a bit.
Well, good morning, Unity of Chattanooga. I am truly honored that you have welcomed us into your homes today. My name is Penny Worth, and I'm the church administrator. And I have got to tell you that I am still full of the incredible energy that we got to share last week at our in-person service. As a matter of fact, I have enough left over to send you some of that love and some of that joy and some of that friendship to you right now. Can you feel it? And by the way, I need to give a shout out to Sherry Shoemaker, who brought us those delightful Halloween treats. I tell you, that woman is a pro in the kitchen. We have a great lineup today for the service, but first we need to take care of business and the real reason why we are here. Today's daily word is divine order. And we believe that we're all here by divine appointment. Whether you watch us each week or whether you're here for the first time, we are pleased that you decided to join us today. Please let us know that you're here by saying hello to each other and greeting each other in the comment section. And don't forget to like us on Facebook. This is also a great opportunity to hit the share button if you have any friends or family that you think might benefit from Unity's message. Because we believe that everyone is on a spiritual path, whether they know it or not. And Unity of Chattanooga is dedicated to helping people discover a positive path to spiritual living. So wherever you are on your spiritual path, you are welcome here. We always open our services with prayer because prayer reminds us that God's power and presence is always available to us when we're willing to become aware of it. So, as you join me in prayer right now, I invite you now to close your outer eyes and take a deep infilling breath and begin to quiet all of those thoughts and ideas that require your attention outside of this space, allowing you to be fully present to this sacred moment. Jesus said that the kingdom of heaven is within, so we take this time to open our hearts and open our minds and allow ourselves to focus and feel the presence and power of God right here, right now, flowing through our very being. The Spirit of God is alive and awake in all of us, and we can call upon it to bring forth the healing nature of whatever we may be experiencing in our lives. When we are fully open to this presence, we are able to express our love, our light, and our joy, and as we do, we elevate the collective consciousness of the world. We also take time to appreciate and celebrate everything that fall season brings us. The extra hour of sleep, the beautiful color of the changing leaves, the cooler temperatures, and the knowing that the holidays are coming as we look forward to the cozy times that we will be spending with family and friends. There is so much to be grateful for in our lives, including being part of this loving community and for this time that we come together. So in this sacred space where God is, we simply say, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Amen. So we have a great lineup for today's service. First, I'd like to introduce you to our guest musician, B.A. Huffman. He comes with some pretty significant credentials. Not only is he a singer and a songwriter, he's also a conductor and a music director. As a graduate of Carnegie Mellon University, he has built a successful career on Broadway and has served as the musical director from some of Disney's Broadway productions such as Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, The Little Mermaid, and The Lion King. He has also been involved with other Broadway plays like Sister Act and The Little Shop of Horrors and Grease, just to name a few. Away from the theater, he loves to write and perform his original songs for New Thought communities. And has a heartfelt and easy to grasp message. So please check him out on his website. That's bahuffman.com. I also get to introduce a brand new guest speaker this morning, Reverend Justin Epstein, who has been on a spiritual path since he was 18 years old. He graduated from James Madison University in Virginia with a double major in interpersonal communication and religious/philosophy. He received the Warren W. Hobby Scholarship for the person most likely to make a difference in organized religion. He then went on to graduate school to graduate from the Unity School for Religious Studies, and he became one of the youngest ordained ministers in the Unity movement in 1993. After that, he went to what he calls advanced ministerial training, living for 3.5 years at Ananda Village in California, a world-renowned yoga and meditation retreat center where he became a licensed yoga instructor. His spiritual messages today integrates every kind of insight from both the East and the West, including Christianity, Judaism, the yoga philosophy, psychology, science, and personal development. He has actually given over 100 presentations to thousands of people at the Manhattan Lincoln Center when he served as the associate minister under the iconic Eric Butterworth from 1999 to 2004. Getting back in touch with his Southern roots, he actually spent some time as the spiritual leader at Unity of Hilton Head in South Carolina for 7 years before returning to New York in 2011, where he's been serving as a senior minister at the Unity Center of New York. He's also published a top-selling book called Super You. But before his talk today on Seek First to Understand, we return to the special music from B.A. Huffman, who's presenting a newly written song called Always Enough. So please sit back and enjoy.
Hello again, folks. B.A. Huffman here. I wrote a song just a couple of weeks ago that I want to share with you. This song talks about when we get caught up in the feeling of scarcity and lack, how we can remember that there is always going to be enough. There always is enough already. And not only is there enough, but sometimes we also get caught up in, I am not enough. And we can also remember that I am always enough. So here I share with you my new song called Always Enough. There is always enough when I choose to believe it. There is always enough even when I can't see it. When I'm living in lack, I just set myself back. There is always more than enough. Save up for this, save up for that. Don't spend it all in one place. These are the words that I've heard all my life, and also a challenge I face. 'Cause deep underneath there's a message that someday it all will run out. Well, if I live in that fear, then it's bound to appear. What I visualize, I bring about. There is always enough when I choose to believe it. There is always enough even when I can't see it. When I'm living in lack, I just set myself back. There is always more than enough. Imagine a world full of blessings untold. Imagine a life filled with love. Imagine your body both healthy and whole, or anything else you dream of. Everything's mine for the choosing. I know this without any doubt. When my heart is aligned with my spirit and the mind, what I visualize, I bring about. There is always enough when I choose to believe it. There is always enough even when I can't see it. When I'm living in lack, I just set myself back. There is always more than enough. When I open my heart, then the blessings will start. There is always enough when I choose to believe it. There is always enough even when I can't see it. When I'm living in lack, I just set myself back. There is always more than enough. When I open my heart, then the blessings will start. There is always more than enough. When my thoughts are aligned, then abundance is mine. There is always enough, always more than enough. There is always, always more than enough.
Stephen Covey, in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, opens habit number 5, which is a habit that has really been a very important habit in my life over the years. since that book came out in the 90s. And he opens that habit, that chapter, with a story. He said, imagine if you go to an eye doctor, and you go to the eye doctor and you, after sharing your situation, your complaint with that eye doctor, he right away gives you his glasses. He says, here, take my glasses. Put these glasses on. I've been wearing them for 10 years and they work great for me. And you put them on, you're like, this is terrible. I can't see a thing. What do you mean you can't see a thing? They've worked great for me. Try harder. I am trying. Everything looks blurry. Come on, be positive. Focus. I am focusing. I am being positive. These glasses do not work for me. Golly, you're so ungrateful after all I've done for you to try to help you. And these glasses aren't working for you. Huh. Now, isn't that ridiculous? It is ridiculous. The doctor has prescribed without diagnosing properly. How many times have you shared something with another person and instead of them listening to you, really understanding, really diagnosing what's really going on with you, instead, right away, they prescribe what you should do, how you should do it. And how effective was that? How effective was that? Because here's the problem. Most of the time, people are listening with their own autobiography. And the problem with that is everybody is unique. We're all unique. And so when someone listens with their autobiography, they're projecting what their experience was. And their experience and their beliefs and their system that's in their head is not the same as yours and mine. Because we're all unique. We're all unique. And that's the case with a lot of folks. How many good listeners do you have in your life? You ever thought about that? How many people really get me? How many people are really listening deeply when you're speaking? I'm going to guess that if you have one in your life, you are blessed. And if you have a couple, then you are really blessed. Why is that? Why is that? Because human beings, after physical survival, they need psychological survival. People need to be affirmed. They need to be appreciated. They need to be built up. They need to be understood. And everybody wants to be understood. And everybody's so busy talking, trying to be understood, that nobody's understanding anybody. St. Francis of Assisi said, Lord, make me an instrument that I may understand rather than be understood. Wow, what could we do for other people if we could be an instrument of understanding for others? If the spiritual law is true, as you give, so do you receive, when you become an instrument of understanding for others, then you find it coming back to you. Habit number 5 in the 7 habits. Such a beautiful teaching. To me, it's the favorite of the 7 habits. It has been so transformational, and I believe that this idea, seek first to understand, is one of the most important ideas in human relationships, whether personal or professional, that we could ever learn and practice. And you know what? It's love in action. It's love in action. When someone takes the time to really understand you, to listen to you, it's an act of love. isn't it? It takes patience. It takes care. And that's one of the keys, you know. In school, we learn how to read, we learn how to write, but how many of us have been taught how to listen? Isn't that interesting? I don't know. Maybe some of you were fortunate enough to go through school where you actually had a class on how to listen. I never did. I got it through reading, through courses that I took outside of school. It's one of the most important things we can learn. Covey says it's the most important skill in relationships. It's one of the most important skills in personal relationships. It's one of the most important skills in business relationships. It's one of the most important skills for diffusing a conflict. It's one of the most important skills of leadership. To be able to listen, to understand. And the key is character. Having character, who you are, who I am as a person, says more than anything else. It's not really skills are important, but more important than the skills are the character. Where are we coming from? You see, anybody can parrot words. There's different levels that are taught in listening. Oh, just paraphrase what they say, or just repeat back the words they say. That is okay. It's a starting point. But if it's not done with the right motivation, it can be perceived as manipulation. It can be perceived as a technique. And instead, we want to really care about the person. We want to come from a place of, how can I really be supportive of this person? How can I really understand and listen this person? That's more important even than the technique, isn't it? Is who are we in that person? A famous Swiss psychiatrist, Paul Tournier, believed that everyone who came to him was sent to him by God. He believed that everyone who came to him was sent to him by God. So if we really thought that everyone who came to us was sent to us by God, how would that change our interaction with them? Isn't that an interesting thought? Let me share another interesting thought in that regard. It's from the poet Hafiz, who lived from 1310 to 1390. He was a Persian poet. And he said this, he said, "Everyone is God speaking. Why not be polite and listen to him?" Wow. Everyone is God speaking. Why not be polite and listen to him? The yogi sage Yogananda said, when you're listening to someone, listen for what God is saying through them. Listen to what God is saying through their voice. Listen to what God is saying through their behavior. Listen to what God is saying through their voice. Wow, can you imagine the impact you and I can have on a daily basis if we did that? Instead, what is the typical experience? Judging somebody based on how they look, what they're wearing, the words they're using, whatever. Or we get so caught in our own personal life of what we're involved in, we're too busy. We don't have time to listen. We don't have time to understand. And yet, in the end, we save time because when we listen to understand, we avert problems down the road by listening to understand. So characters should be the core. Where are we coming from? It's not just a technique. It's not just, no, it's really sincere desire to understand somebody, to seek first to understand. And then there's transformational power in that. Remember the story of Jesus in the New Testament. There's a short little guy named Zacchaeus who was a tax collector. And he is not a nice guy. He is, some would say, despicable, because he would extract money out of people. He would take advantage of people who were helpless in those days, like a widow and others. And well, for some reason, he was interested in this man, Jesus. Jesus was going to come and speak. So what did Zacchaeus, this little guy, this little despicable man, climbed up in a sycamore tree to be able to see above the crowds. And when Jesus came, he'd be able to see Jesus. Well, to his surprise, Jesus looked up into the tree and called him by name. Zacchaeus, come down. I'm going to have dinner at your house. Wow. And that's what Jesus did. Jesus went and had dinner with this man. We don't know exactly what was said, what was shared, but something changed in Zacchaeus. Jesus must have had the attitude of Hafiz. He must have listened deeply to Zacchaeus. He must have been able to hear the fear in Zacchaeus. He must have been able to hear the confusion in Zacchaeus. He must have been able to hear the stuckness in Zacchaeus, because Zacchaeus was transformed. And he said to Jesus, I am going to pay back fourfold all that I have taken from other people. Jesus had a transformational effect on Zacchaeus, one from his character and his ability to see the goodness, the godness in Zacchaeus, to look beyond his behavior, and to let Zacchaeus find what is called psychological air. Psychological air. People need psychological air. If we were to suck the air out of this room right now, would any of you have any interest in what I was saying right now? Absolutely not. If the air was sucked out of wherever you are at home or here in this room, you would not care one iota what I was saying, because you would want air. Air. And that's true with people. People don't want to hear advice. They don't want to hear that when what they need is psychological air. They have things that they're concerned about. They have worries. They have fears. They have insecurities. And until they can find psychological air, they can't hear what we have to say. That's what Seek First to Understand is all about. It's about giving another person psychological air. Can you remember someone in your life who has really listened to you, and they didn't give you advice? They didn't ask a bunch of logical questions. They didn't evaluate what you were saying, whether they agreed with it or didn't agree with it. They weren't interpreting what you were saying, trying to understand what your motivation was and saying what your intentions were. No, they just sought to understand where you were coming from, what you were saying, and you got psychological air. How many of you had that experience before, where someone really got you and listened to you so that you could say, you get me? It's like someone, diagnosing before they prescribe. They've got to get you before they can have any idea what you need, really. And that's true for everybody. You see, that's true in personal relationships, with a son, with a daughter, with a friend, with a family member. They need psychological air. They need someone to really have a heart to want to listen to them and to not be so distracted. Not to be so, is anybody distracted today? Are there any distractions in the world today? You bet there are distractions in the world today. Now you've got tweets and emails and phone calls and YouTube videos and people on their phones and all kinds of stuff going on that can be more interesting than what we have to say or to what another person has to say. Because those little devices are tuned into your favorite hits, aren't they? And so it takes really a heart to want to care and want to understand and want to listen. When Jesus went and spent time with Martha and Mary, they were the sisters of Lazarus, thank you. Had to resurrect my memory there, thank you. They were the sisters of Lazarus. And Jesus went to visit them. And remember Martha. Martha was distracted. Martha had her smartphone she was more interested in. They didn't have them back then, but you know, she was busy in the kitchen cooking and she was busy doing this and doing that. It fit her mentality perfectly. Now, I'm not saying those things. I love my smartphone. I'm not criticizing technology. But we've got to be coming from that, you know, wanting to really listen. So Martha is busy in the kitchen cooking, and Mary is what? Sitting with Jesus, listening to Jesus. And Martha comes in and says, Jesus, I'm busy in the kitchen cooking. Can't you tell Mary to come in and help me cook? And Jesus basically says, in essence, Martha, you're too distracted. You're too busy. Come on in here and listen. Listen. That's what it takes, doesn't it? It takes, God is speaking to me through this person. God has sent this person to me right now. Let me be focused. Let me seek first to understand. Let me hear that person so they can have psychological error. And when they do have psychological error, they might say, what do you think, Dennis? What do you think I should do? Phyllis, what do you think I ought to do? Because now they've been heard, they've been understood. Who wants to be diagnosed before someone even understands them? That's the thing. That's like going to that eye doctor and the eye doctor saying, here, take my glasses. You don't even know what the problem is. Stephen Covey says that they tells a story of he and his wife. They just had a 2-month-old child, and there was a big game in that town with 10,000 people attending. Everybody knew about the game. They wanted to go to the game, but their 2-month-old was vomiting and had diarrhea, and they were concerned about that child. So they were home naturally to look after that child, and they called their doctor. It wasn't the regular doctor, it was the doctor on call who was at the game. And it was at an important part of the game. And they called up the doctor and they said, they described the problem. They said, this is what's happening. And the doctor was a little annoyed because it was a key point in the game and they could hear his tone of voice in the phone. And he said, tell me what's going on. And they described it to him what was going on. And he said, look, I'll call in a prescription and, just give it and that should do it. So then the wife hung up the phone and Stephen asked his wife, he said, does he know how old the child is? And the wife said, oh, sure, he must know how old the child is. He must know that. Are you sure? So he called the doctor back. He said, are you aware, doctor, that the child is 2 months old? No. I'll cancel the prescription and rewrite a different one. He was prescribing something that was inappropriate to that child. So instead of prescribing, here's what people usually do. Instead of seeking to understand, what do people do? They evaluate. They're thinking about, I agree, I disagree, that's right, that's wrong. They're evaluating. They're not listening. That's not listening. That's evaluating. Or they probe. They ask questions. But asking questions is a logical left brain activity, and it It doesn't account for feelings, which is what understanding is. It's about not just the mind, it's about the heart. Or people give advice. You know, it's been said the worst vice is advice, because it's advice coming from one's own autobiography. It's advice coming from one person's perspective, and everybody is unique. Everybody's an individual. What works for one won't work for another. And then the other is people interpret. They're judging people's motives and intentions, instead of seeking first to understand, which means to reflect back to the person what's going on as well as their feelings. See, that's the key. You're tuning into their feelings, and you're tuning into the logic of the son that says, oh, I hate school. It's just very challenging. So you're really scared and frustrated with school right now. Yeah, that's right, Dad, I am. You know, reflecting back the feeling, the content, both. Now you're seeking to understand. This works in personal relationships. This works in business. This real estate guy was working for 6 months trying to close this sale with this couple, and it just was going downhill. All his eggs were in the basket of this one sale. And they brought in another real estate agent as an alternative. And the momentum was just going in the direction of him losing the sale. He was trying to delay the sale. He said, let's wait a little bit. And they were so frustrated that it took so long, they just wanted to get this thing over with. So suddenly he remembered a course he had just taken where he was told, seek first to understand. So he said, well, I've tried everything else. I've tried all the sales tactics I know. Let me seek first to understand. And so he went over with the people. He said, so this is your concern. He went over what all their concerns were. He expressed understanding. And at one point, the man went over to the phone. He felt totally understood. He went over to the phone. He got on and he called his wife. He covered up the receiver and he said, honey, you've got the sale. We've got it. We're closing on this. It was more important that they could feel understood. They could feel understood. So whoever's calling right now on that phone, make sure that you seek first to understand them so they can really be understood and heard. Yeah. So, you know, that's part of the challenge, is the distractions that we face, right? When your phone starts ringing and you're trying to have a conversation with somebody, you got to really focus, don't you? You got to focus. Seek first to understand and then to be understood, because what happens? You give someone psychological air. See, seek first to understand. They've got to be heard. They've got to be understood so they can go, you get me. You get me. Now they're ready for you to express what you have to say. Once they feel understood, now they might say, what do you think? Or if it's a sale, then you can express your perspective. Now that they know they're understood, now you can express what you think. And they are now ready to hear. They're ready to hear. This is a principle that is universal. This is a principle that can transform every relationship in your life. Every might be too far to go. Let's be realistic. Maybe not every relationship, but it's certainly the great tool you can choose in every relationship, and do the best you can to utilize it. Seek first to understand, and then to be understood. I'm going to close with this poem. It's by J. McDaniel. It was published in Prayers for 1,000 Years. And instead of the word century, we're going to use the word day. In this day, and in any day, our deepest hope, our most tender prayer, is that we learn to listen. May we listen to one another in openness and mercy. May we listen to plants and animals in wonder and respect. May we listen to our own hearts in love and forgiveness. May we listen to God in quietness and awe. And in this listening, which is boundless in its beauty, may we find the wisdom to cooperate with a healing spirit, a divine spirit, who beckons us into peace and community and creativity. We do not ask for a perfect world. We do ask for a better world. We ask for deep listening. Let's get still for a moment. Father, Mother God, we know that you listen to us. That in your great heart of compassion and love, you hear every thought, every word, every feeling of our consciousness. That we are truly understood by you when no one else may understand us. You understand us. And we feel deeply grateful that you understand us and you love us because you are love. That you know every corner of our consciousness. There's nothing that is hidden from your presence. And yet we are valued, we are affirmed, we are loved by you. Thank you, dear Spirit. And may we each be an instrument of your love. That where there is hate, we may sow love. And where we may sow understanding. To seek first to understand, then to be understood. Because this is love in action. This is your presence. On earth as it is in heaven, we are your vehicles, your instruments. Thank you for reminding us of this truth and for guiding us in this path. And so it is. Amen.
I'd like to thank Reverend Justin Epstein for sharing his wisdom and his insight with us this morning. I hope you enjoyed it also. Now is the time in our service when we get to acknowledge that God is our source. Just as the Master Teacher taught, as you give, so shall you receive. And when we practice generosity, we open ourselves up to a greater flow of abundance to come into our lives. Unity of Chattanooga is here today because of your generosity. As you think about your love offering today, I invite you to connect with the energy that is awakening within you to express your divine nature of abundance. And when you give it to Unity, you're making a stand for love, peace, compassion, and oneness. So let us bless our gifts today with our affirmation. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I give in love, and I receive in abundance. As we bless these gifts, we send them forth to fulfill the vision and the mission of Unity of Chattanooga, and the board thanks you. And now for our love offering song.
Spirit flow through me as I open up to be an expression of your unfolding peace. Spirit show through me as I open up to be your unfolding peace, and show, Spirit, show through me as I open up to be an expression of your unfolding love.
And now we have just a few announcements for you. Prior to our Celebration Sunday service, every Sunday morning at 9:30, our prayer chaplains offer a guided meditation on Zoom. The link can be found on our website at unityofchattanooga.org. I also want to remind you about a segment called Midweek Faith Lift on Unity of Chattanooga's Facebook page each Wednesday around 4 o'clock with our board president Shannon LeBron and Reverend Doug Worth. It's a casual conversation about all things spiritual, and since it's archived, you can watch it at your convenience. I promise it'll uplift your spirits. Like so many other organizations, this has been a year of change, but through it all, we continue to bring a message of hope and reassurance that God is at work in all of this. I believe that Unity of Chattanooga is here as a force for good in this world. And as we focus on the future of this ministry, we have created a building fund. So when the time is right, we can find a space where we can rent and meet together in person on a regular basis. We have currently raised over $1,500, and I encourage you to make a donation today on our website. Next Sunday, Reverend Doug will be back online to continue with his series based on Edwin Gaines' book, The 4 Spiritual Laws of Prosperity. This talk will be about the mysterious power of forgiveness, because forgiveness is so essential to our emotional health and well-being. This is one message you don't want to miss. Once again, on Unity of Chattanooga's Facebook page. So as we bring today's service to a close, please join me now in saying our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. And the presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thank you for blessing us with your presence today. And now B.A. Huffman will close our service with another original song he wrote called Hold a Space. God bless.
Hello once again, folks. B.A. Huffman here. In going over the talk that Justin Epstein was giving today about seeking to understand and listening first, I was reminded of a time a little earlier this year when a friend of mine was losing her brother, her rather young brother in his 30s, to an illness, and I didn't really know what to say, because I don't know what to say in those situations. And then I realized that the gift to her could be in not saying anything and in listening. And so this song came to me. I wrote this song for her on that occasion, and also for me to remember when I don't know what to say. I'll hold a space for you of comfort. I'll hold a place for you of love. I'll hold a space for you of compassion. I'll hold a place for you of love. I'll hold a space for you of comfort. I'll hold a place for you of love. I'll hold a space for you of compassion. I'll hold a place for you of love. Rest your head on my shoulder. Rest your cares and let them go. In my arms you'll find a haven. Whatever feelings come, just let them flow. I'll hold a space for you of comfort. I'll hold a place for you of love. I'll hold a space for you of compassion. I'll hold a place for you of love. Rest your head on my shoulder. Rest your cares and let them go. In my arms you'll find a haven. Whatever feelings come, just let them flow. I'll hold a space for you of comfort. I'll hold a place for you of love. I'll hold a space for you of compassion. I'll hold a place for you of love. I'll hold you in love. I'm holding you in